Hello and welcome to Prudent IAS, one-stop solution for all the competitive exams. Today our topic is on a student's demand. Though he is preparing for CAPF, but this topic is equally important for all the competitive exams as well as UPSC. So the topic for the day is education. Now the approach for this video will be a bit different from our previous videos. Yes, we will give you some discussion and content over this topic, but along with that, we'll be giving you some pointers about essay writing. Our question will be mains oriented sample model question and answer, which we usually do. But before that, I'll be giving you some pointers about essay as well, because education might pop up in essay section as well. So education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. A very famous quote by Nelson Mandela. These quotes are extremely important while writing your answers, because you can use them to begin your essays or quote in between the answers as well. Education is the foundation that empowers individuals to develop critical thinking and knowledge which is necessary for progress. It is very powerful weapon. Why? Because the knowledge equips us to use the tools and overcome the obstacles which we face and create opportunities where none existed before. Education catalyzes transformation at individual, community and global levels. Now this is all a bit theoretical part. In simple words, education is different from literacy. Why so? If we look at this, for example, this is a big circle and in that there is smaller one. Here we can write literacy and the bigger one is education. A very simple way of understanding both the terms is, if we'll write intelligence, we'll add character, then it will become as true education. So the intelligent part is covered by literacy. Literacy is just the formal schooling. Aap school gaye, you have read in the school and the classes, and that's it. That comes under the intelligent aspect and under literacy. But education will also cover a holistic picture. That is, it will also cover your character. So being literate and being educated are two different terms. You can even draw such diagrams in the essays, but make sure that you do not overuse these diagrams. You can make one or two in the essay. So moving forward, first let's analyze what is the relevance of this in the various GS papers. In General Studies Paper 2, Governance, Polity and Social Justice, it will be covered under issues related to development and management of education, government policies and intervention, the NEP, National Education Policy 2020 and the Right to Education Act, very important, role of NGO, self-help groups, community-based education, issues in education delivery and reforms. Then I have also added some previous year questions to substantiate that yes, it is equally important for all these papers. I'll read one of these. Implementation of e-learning in primary education is riddled with many challenges. Examine. It was asked in 2022. Next up in GS paper 3 under economy, science and technology, under the topic education is as a human capital investment, skilling and innovation ecosystem, Digital India, EdTech startup, e-governance in education, education's role in employment and economic growth. Then if we connect it with the previous year questions, skill development is the need of the hour, comment with reference to challenges in vocational education in India. In GS paper 1 under society, education is an agent of social mobility, gender justice, empowerment of the weaker sections, addressing the caste as well as class inequalities. So it is covering a number of dimensions across all the GS papers. If we come to the essay paper, UPSC regularly asks education related themes under abstract as well as the thematic topics. For example, education without values as useful artists seems rather to make a man more clever devil. Very important, very analytical question of essay. Best for the individual is not necessarily best for society. Then schooling is not education. So we'll have to understand that we'll have to address different themes under different essays. For example, in the second one, the best for individual is not necessarily best for society. We'll be writing about the privatization of education. So for essay, what approach you need to follow? Just a basic understanding. I'll be making the videos on essays separately. in the upcoming lectures. First, you need to identify the stakeholders. Now, what are the stakeholders? If you are not familiar with this term, anyone who has some sort of interest in this topic. For example, we can link it with students, teacher, society, government, because the government intervention schemes, right? As well as we'll connect with the vulnerable sections of the society. Now, what all are the vulnerable sections? First up, the female students, then the students of the rural areas, economically weak, socially backward, the SCs and STs, then the term we'll use is specially abled, but the Divyang, that is specially abled sections of the society. So all these vulnerable sections are the stakeholders in education as well. So while writing the essay, you need to keep all these pointers in mind. Then what you will do, you will address this topic along various dimensions. A very common approach which the students prefer is choosing this topic and then linking with the political, social, economical, technological, and even the global aspects. Very easy to use, easy to understand. So on this dimension only, we will look on the upcoming slides. That is social, political, technological, innovation, etc. So we'll read education along all these dimensions. Before that, let's understand the national education policies. Here I'll be giving you only the highlights because this is an answer writing series. But after completing this series, we'll be coming up with detailed discussion of all these important topics. If you have another topic in your mind, you can just let us know in the comment section below. So what are the key features? First up is regarding the school education. The structure is changed. Earlier we used to give boards at 12th and 10th. So it was a 10+2 structure. But now we have 5 + 3 + 3 + 4. The foundational literacy and numeracy mission. A very important mission which ensures that all children acquire essential literacy and numeracy during the foundational years of their schooling. Then comes the vocational education from grade 6. Now what is vocational education? We can learn it from an abbreviation, that is CTE. It is easier for you to understand through these abbreviations. Now CTE stands for Career and Technical Education. Career and Technical Education. Now it is skill-based training for specific occupations. So the training, the skills you need for a particular occupation will be given through the vocational education program. So we are making students capable of getting employment. For higher education, we have now multidisciplinary institutions, credit transfer system via academic bank of credits. So the student can opt out of the programs without losing the degrees. They have credits in the academic bank of credits. Accordingly, they will be getting the certificates as well. National Research Foundation. Now what is NRF? It is an organization which is going to give strategic direction to the research and innovation in the education. We have a target of 50% gross enrollment ratio by 2035. Next up, governance and regulation. HECI is a one umbrella body which has replaced UGC AICTE. So the Higher Education Commission of India has now replaced the UGC. The UGC Act 1956 was repealed. This act, UGC Act 1956 was repealed and HECI was established, which will ensure a very holistic and flexible curriculum. There are of course some criticism and challenges. First up, implementation challenges in the diverse state systems. Many states are saying that no, they are not going to implement the national education policy. There is digital divide which is hindering the equitable access. We'll look at these points in more detail. Risk of centralization. Central might impose its own policies and sort of curriculum can be manipulated. For example, states like Tamil Nadu have not adopted the NEP fully. Now, I have noted one short form which is going to help you while writing the essay answers as well. These terms are mentioned in the national education policies. We can look at it as PARAK. Now, what does this PARAK stands for? P is for performance. A is for assessment. R is for review. Analysis of, write off here, knowledge. This is knowledge. Holistic. So you can just note down this abbreviation, PARAK. You can use these pointers while framing the conclusion. For example, how? We can choose for performance, assessment and review, analysis of knowledge for the holistic development. You can write it as an conclusion as well. Very important parameters. PARAKH. Performance, assessment, review, analysis of knowledge for holistic development. Now, let's begin with the constitutional and institutional frameworks which we have in place about education. First up, DPSP Article 45 provides for early childhood care and education. Under Article 21A, right to free and compulsory education for children aged 16 to 14 under the Right to Education Act 86 Constitutional Amendment. Under the concurrent list by the 42nd Amendment Act, it allows both the center and the state. So, education is a concurrent subject. The Right to Education Act mentioned the Article 21A, which is a key legislation because it made education a fundamental right. Then we can write the examples of PM Shri schools. It is very important to have a good hold on all the examples which I am mentioning in this lecture. So what are the social dimensions of education? We will discuss these across various parameters. I have tried to add as much content as possible in this slide. So I'll be doing less discussion but giving you all the key pointers. Equity and access. The rural-urban divide, caste, tribe, minority gaps. So yes, of course, there is a clear-cut rural-urban divide where the access is limited to the rural areas because in the urban areas, because in the rural sections, the infrastructure is not very good. There is a digital divide as well. Then some castes are deprived of access to education. Same for the tribes, and the minority gaps as well exist. So for this, there is RTE Act 2009 and the Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan. Now under the Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan, it is a centrally sponsored scheme which is aiming for equitable and inclusive education for all. RTE again has made the fundamental right to education, free and compulsory education to all, irrespective of all these caste, tribe, minority gaps. Then gender and education, female literacy, another very big challenge because there is the barrier for girls because of safety and sanitation. First up, the female literacy rate. The people are usually forced not to go to schools. They are early married at very early ages. There is concern of appropriate infrastructure for girls, considering about the sanitation and safety of the girls in the schools. But there have been some initiatives taken by the government of India. For example, the Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao and the Kasturba Gandhi Balika Vidyalaya. Now, the Kasturba Gandhi Balika Vidyalaya is a residential scheme where the female for weaker sections of the society. Female of the weaker section of the society can get schools up to the secondary education. Data from where we can get the data, National Family Health Survey 5 Female literacy rate is 77%, which is still lower than the male literacy rate, which is 84%. Social justice and empowerment. Education is, of course, a tool for upliftment. Then constitutional goals. Now, achieve social equality through education. There are some schemes like the pre-matric and post-matric scholarships, Eklavya model schools. Now, Eklavya, for every scheme, you will have to keep the key feature in mind. For Eklavya, it is for scheduled tribes. And another important point for Eklavya model school is it is not under the Ministry of Education, but under the Ministry of Tribal Affairs. So while reading all these schemes, know about, is it centrally sponsored, under which ministry, it is targeting which sections of the society. So the Navodaya Vidyalaya offering quality education to the rural areas. Rural students are getting quality education through these schools. National integration and ethics, role of NCERT, constitutional values, free language formula, moral education, everything will come under what the social dimensions of the education. The most important one are, of course, the gender gap, the equity and access. We have to make education inclusive and accessible, affordable to all. Then social justice and empowerment, how we can use the schemes which are already in place to give education and empowerment to all the sections of the society. So these, while reading these dimensions, you need to segregate what are the challenges and the examples or the initiatives which we are using here are the possible solutions. While writing a short answer, you can segregate these points under challenges and solutions. While writing the essay, because it will require more word limit, you can segregate these points under the various dimensions. Next up is the economic and employment dimension. Skilling and employability. There is a crisis because India has degrees but not enough skills. So people who are having even the PhD degrees are not employed because they do not have the skills. So for this, PM Kaushal Vikas Yojana, vocational trainings via the National Education Policy. The NEP is targeting vocational training, skill development, inclusive development, holistic development, as well as the Kaushal Vikas Yojana, again skill development. Crisis of unemployable graduates, because we have a very high reaping demographic dividend and there are a lot of graduates who are unemployed because they have the bookish knowledge but not the required skills for the MNCs. So the need is of vocational training. 80% of the engineers in India are considered unemployable, which is the report as per the Aspirant Minds report. You can quote data but mention the source. For education and human capital, the human capital theory is education will increase the productivity. Skilling is very critical for India's demographic dividend, is already mentioned. Then under the research and innovation part, we have NRF, already discussed the IITs, IISCs who are doing the research and innovation for the education section. But there is a certain challenge. What is that? Brain drain, poor global university ranking. So we lack certain global parameters. Our education is still not up to the mark as per the global educational parameters, and the problem of brain drain. Mostly the cream, the elite section who are well versed and get the education, they choose worldwide other places for their jobs because they feel that they will be paid more than India. So the concept of brain drain, which we need to tackle. Next up, the funding and privatization. Low public expenditure. So see, earlier we used to spend less than 3% of our GDP for education. But by NEP 2020, there was a provision for increasing this 3 to 6% of the GDP. The policy came in 2020, we are still in 2025. And in this 5-year, the progress has been very less. The GDP percentage has been increased to 4.26, approximately just 1.2% increase, 6% increase. The pace is very slow. Yes, we are progressing, but the pace is very slow. So right now we have, as per a report in 2024, 4.26% of the GDP is given to education. Though it is higher to many regions, but still it is less considering the demographic dividend and the population we have. Growth of private and edtech institutions. Now, the issue of commercialization of education. We'll discuss these separately as well. Education, for example, on YouTube or across various institutes. Yes, there are a number of teachers. You can just read from your home, but the fees that they are charging is hefty, and that this is leading to the commercialization of education. And the reach is getting lesser and lesser. Only who can afford the education are getting access to these private institutions and edtech institutions. And with this only, the aim of Prudent IAS is to give affordable education to all the English medium students. So all our courses will be keeping this point in mind. We won't aim for commercialization of education, but provide very affordable education to all the students. Now, the technological and digital dimensions. Extremely important, because during COVID, many students in the tribal and rural areas dropped out due to lack of access. Now, this lack of access can be in terms of finances. They are not able to purchase the courses, charging hefty fees, or the infrastructure. They are unable to play the videos at home and avail the online services because they do not have the required digital infrastructure. So, both these problems exist, leading to the digital divide. Device, electricity and internet gaps. So PM eVidya, National Digital University, we have Swayam portal, Diksha platforms. Now we are also aiming for this EdTech revolution. These are all the solutions which the government has taken, and this is our own Prudent IAS. So these platforms, what are they doing? They are a digital innovation, digital platform where we can access all the e-books, materials at one place. Just by scanning the QRs, you can access NCRTs and a number of extra other things at the Swayam and Diksha platforms. Now, regulation and equity concerns, commercialization, privacy issues, lack of regulation. Of course, commercialization, as already mentioned, by the edtech companies, the coaching institutes who are charging hefty fees. Then the privacy issues, because in the online education system, students might enter some sensitive data regarding their personal information, and because of the privacy issue, that can be hampered. Lack of regulation in this, specifically the technological and online education, we need more regulations. Now, the political, legal and governance dimensions. So, are you noting down what all number of dimensions can be read while studying education? Every aspect can be covered. Constitutional framework, as already discussed, the DPSP's fundamental rights, Article 21A, 42nd Amendment, which moved it to the concurrent list. Now, the center-state relations, national education policies, acceptance varies by the state, but different states are implementing NEP differently. For example, Tamil Nadu and Kerala are opposing the 3-language formula. Now, this language is very much in the news. There are a number of cases which are popping out from Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, even Maharashtra. So, note down all the provisions, our mother tongue, etc. Article 350, you need to have a good hold on all the language related provisions of the Constitution. Next up, the role of local bodies and the school management committees, that is the SMCs. It also plays a huge role, especially in the rural sections of the society, because they are working at the field level. See, center and state can devise the policies, they can frame the policies, but at field level they need to be implemented. The infrastructure needs to be made. So there comes the role of these local bodies and SMCs. Then regulatory reforms. Under National Education Policy 2020, we have the Academic Bank of Credit, National Research Foundation, NRF, then new school structure, as already mentioned. But there are certain challenges which are of course related to the implementation, diversity and funding, financing. What are the cultural, environmental and ethical dimensions? First up is language and identity, the 3-language formula versus the Hindi imposition debates. Very important for the upcoming mains. Medium of instruction and regional pride. Now, if someone is teaching in English, for example, we are teaching in English, it will be very difficult for all the Hindi students to understand all these points. But if I include Hindi in these lectures, then it will be difficult for Northeast students, maybe some students from the South or even North India to understand the lecture. So language is of course a barrier, both while reading and while teaching as well. Then environment and education, Supreme Court directive on environmental studies. Supreme Court has given that we need to mention the environment studies and pay more attention to it because of the global warming environmental crisis which we are facing. If the youth, if the students are well aware that how to tackle the environment, how to save the environment, then it will be very helpful for India as a whole. The Supreme Court is also time and again doing some interventions in the educational field. School, eco clubs, sustainability content in the curriculum, very important. Then next comes the value-based education. See, the national education policy also focuses on the holistic dimension. So this will not only focus on literacy or numeracy. That are just two aspects. But along with that, you need to have some skills. You need to know about the environment. And most important is the value-based moral education. So these are all the parameters, and for whom the education needs to be more equitable, affordable, and inclusive. Right? So teaching ethics, constitutional morality, national education policy is emphasizing on the Indian knowledge systems as well as the life skills. Next up we have health and welfare dimension. Now, nutrition and learning. Midday meal scheme, school health programs, this is also a part under the schools, under education. So we can of course establish some interlinkages. In essay, a question might even pop up on health. So there too you can mention and link these with the topic of education. So the malnutrition affects the cognitive development. Why? Because if the student is deprived of the food, their brain won't work properly. Malnourished children have lower learning ability. So it is important to give them the fortified cereals to avoid the impact of the malnourishment over the studies. Health education, mental health, adolescent education, and hygiene. Extremely important. Hygiene for female students, for the weaker sections, for rural sections where the infrastructure is not appropriate. Adolescent education to save them from distracting or going into crimes. Because see, if the dropout rates are high, if the graduates are unemployed, then what will they do? They will ultimately choose some sort of crime, maybe a trivial theft or maybe a murder. So we need to give the adolescent proper education as well so that they stay on the right track. Mental health, because of COVID-19 and various other problems, mental health is very important to be addressed. Now, education can be linked with globalization as well. So inflow of foreign universities. Now, this is proposed in the national education policy, but there is a debate, and our debate might even pop up in your exam. That shall we allow the inflow of the foreign universities in India? Write down in the comment section what are your views about this. Do you want foreign universities in India? Yes or no? Indian students migrating abroad, which is brain drain. Because of globalizations, we have opened up all the borders and made it easier for the students to travel across the whole world. So MOOCs like edX, Coursera, which are changing the education delivery. At home, we are getting the tests, the exams, we can prepare at home, online education. So everything is getting revolutionized with the help of globalization as well. So yes, there are some challenges like the brain drain, some positives as well, that is the changing education delivery system. But the debate also exists about the inflow of the foreign universities. Should foreign universities be allowed in India? Just write us in the comment section, yes or no. Now, the private education sector. 40% of the students enrolled in the private schools. Now, in the news you might be reading, in DPS Dwarka, I guess, there is a debate about the fee hike. students are denied access to the schools because they are unable to pay the fees. So you will have to read all these news, not in detail that what is happening, bouncers are being hired. No. What you will have to keep in mind is, okay, this is a question about education, about rising fees, private sector, and then you will have to jump to this segment. That this might even pop up as a question in the mains examination. So the quality is also varying, that elite versus the budget private schools. There are certain schools which are giving amenities like the 5-star hotels, and some are the budget private schools as well. But yes, the private schools have helped in reaching more students. The government schools, the condition of the government schools, it is also evident through various movies. It is very, very pathetic. The infrastructure is very pathetic, and all the elite class people or the middle section, they want their students to study in the private schools because of the infrastructure. So what we need to do, first we need to amp up the government infrastructure. We need to make sure that the government schools are giving quality education to all the students, so that we do not restrain our children from going to the government schools. Next up, in the private schools also, there is a lot of difference in the budget and elite schools. We need to minimize this and make education inclusive and affordable for all. There are some regulation issues, as mentioned, the fee hikes and the commercializations. Some institutes, what they do these days, they are even calling the parents and they are giving them threats that if you won't buy our programs, then your student might fail. Now this fear-based education is nothing but commercialization of education, right? This also needs to be tackled by a proper regulation mechanism, regulatory body. So what is the existing debate? Is privatization diluting the educational equity? Those who can afford, those who can pay will definitely be getting better education, better campus, better infrastructure, and ultimately will be employed in the better places. Placements will be better. Should education be treated as a public good or a commodity? Next, very important debate about the private education sector. What are the examples? CBSE schools are charging high fee while the government schools performance gaps. So yes, if we want to study in the private schools, then we'll have to pay the fee hikes. If we'll study in the government schools, then there will be a lot of performance gaps. So this debate is where we'll have to look into. So what is the way forward and suggestions? First up, increase the public spending, which is currently 4.26% of the GDP, and we need to aim for 6% as per NEP. We need to fasten up the pace as well. यानी कि next 5 साल में up to 2030 we are able to get 5%. No. We need to fasten up the pace and increase the public spending. Okay, focus on the foundational literacy. Of course, the foundational years of schooling. A recent news I read somewhere that in Haryana, from a particular school, all the students failed to clear the basic foundational literacy and numeracy skills. So just getting the degrees is not important, but you need to focus on the foundational literacy as well. Bridge the digital divide through infrastructure and affordable devices, of course the internet connectivity, so that all the students can avail the benefits of online education. And as well, online education needs to be affordable. Again, our aim is in line with the suggestion. We are also aiming for the affordable education for all. Strong teacher training and accountability mechanisms. Teachers specifically, there have been a lot of sting operations in Bihar. The teachers don't have the required knowledge which they can impart to the students. So first of all, if you are teaching, then you must have a good conceptual clarity on the knowledge, then only you will be able to impart it to the students, right? So teacher training is required. Also, some teachers often resort to violence, that is, they beat the students, which we need to tackle under the training program. More than the intelligent, that is the IQ, we need to focus on emotional quotient as well of the teachers while the teacher training programs. Accountability mechanisms as well. If the student is not doing well, if the student is mentally harassed, or if the student is being beaten, then we need to develop some accountability mechanisms on the teacher as well. In government schools in the rural areas, the teachers are getting hefty salaries, but they are sitting back at their home. They are resting at their home. They are not even going to the schools, and that's why all the school buildings are empty. No students, no teachers. This is the government money is getting spent over their salaries. So we need to develop the accountability mechanisms as well. Regulate the private sector without discouraging innovation. Yes, so see, the private sector has played a very important role. There are a multiple number of schools, not lot of students are in the private section, and yes, the private sector is also helping in innovation. But what we need to regulate it, right? Foster skilling and vocational education in tune with the job market. So the upcoming job market is completely skill based. A viral video on Instagram, you all might have seen that a girl is circulating all her medals and certificates, and yet she is unable to get a job because she lacks the required skills. So skill training is very important. What is the vision? Vision: education should be inclusive, equitable and future ready. Very simple: equitability, affordability and inclusiveness. Education is both a right and a responsibility. All these quotes can be used while writing the answers. A strong education system is critical for achieving the sustainable development goal 4, that is quality education and becoming a knowledge economy. So 5 trillion, 6 trillion, billion economy. More than that, we need to become a knowledge economy. So sustainable development goal 4 can also be written. The future of India lies in its classrooms, because we have a very good demographic dividend. The youth is in good numbers and we can reap that in the classrooms. Now, very quickly we'll tackle this question because we have given ample time to the content today. The model question for the day is: discuss the role of private sector and edtech in the democratization education in India. Are they helping or hindering the equity? So first we'll have to discuss the role of private sector and edtech companies in the democratizing the education, and next we'll have to write an opinion, that is, are they helping or hindering the equity? It is a very short 10-mark question, 150 marks. We have 2 dimensions to address. We'll keep the word limit accordingly. Most of you have already known that this question, because we have sent this question in our Telegram group, Answer Writing by Prudent IAS, in a day advance. All of you who have not yet joined, do join it today, because there we check one answer daily at no cost. You can even access others' answers and even do some peer-to-peer interaction. All of you, what I suggest right now is just pause this video and write a sample answer yourself. Since this is a 10-mark answer, you can take 10 or maximum 11 minutes. Write it down and then do some self-evaluation or send us your answers in that group. So the introduction, always follow the intro, body, conclusion approach. I have given all these parameters multiple times in the previous videos. I won't repeat now. I'll mention in very brief. So intro, body, conclusion approach. Avoid these headings. Start from here. In the wake of NEP 2020 and the COVID-19, here what we'll do is we'll write the full form. It is National Education Policy. And then in the bracket we'll use this NEP. So now onwards we can use NEP. Private sector and edtech are now vital to India's education landscape, providing innovative, scalable solutions, but their impact on educational equity remains debated. We have simply given insights about the topic and addressed that what we are going to address in the demand, that this debate is still prevailing. Next up, in the body of answer, we will be writing about the positive contributions. What is the role? So yes, access and innovation, supplementing the gaps, National Education Policy 2020. Platforms like Byju's and Academy, etc. are reaching the millions. Private schools and apps fill voids in the public education. Encourage public-private partnership and the edtech integration. So these are all the pointers. The structure, focus on the structure. Heading, subheading. We have highlighted the subheading. Use the numbers, that is 1, 2, 3, or you can use ABC but not bullets. Then we have addressed the second dimension separately. What are the concerns and the equity gaps in this? Affordability, digital divide, commercialization. All these sections we have already discussed. So just keep in mind the word limit, how we are phrasing. For example, here we are writing high subscription fees exclude the poor students. Very simple words, we are addressing this dimension. 2021 ACER data shows that only 25% rural children have access to digital devices. It is very important. If you will add some facts, you will definitely get better marks. Commercialization risk is focus on profits over pedagogy. So everyone, the very famous institutes which are even named here, are focusing on private motives, profit motives, but not on pedagogy or imparting education. Just have a look at it. Both dimensions are addressed. Conclusion, do not skip the conclusion, make it very concise. Balanced models combining innovation with equity safeguards are essential for truly democratizing education. A very simple, positive, balanced conclusion which you need to write. So today the question was very simple because this question might pop up as more in the essay paper. So on the essay dimensions we have already done the discussions. You can just have a look at this conclusion as well. So this is it for today. I hope now that you have a better clarity about education, various dimensions of the education. Just subscribe our channel Prudent IAS for more such videos and join our Telegram group Answer Writing by Prudent IAS. Thanks for watching.